something that came out the other day, this company called Rewind, Rewind AI. They're basically an AI. On their website, it says that they're personalized AI powered by everything you've seen, said, or heard. And what they did the other day, I thought was quite fascinating until I started reading the comments of everybody roasting it. But they came out with this wearable pendant, like just a little necklace with this little dongle thingy at the end of it. Didn't even look cool or anything. It was just like a necklace with a thing at the end. And what it did was it recorded your conversations, your audio. So you'd be walking around, like let's say you and I were hanging out having a beer. I'm wearing this little necklace. It's full on recording our conversation and everything around it. And the goal was so that you could take it later on. You can do whatever you want with it. You can recap your meetings. You can recap your conversations, and you have that memory, right? Like I can go back and re-listen to it again and make sure that I fully understand what you were saying, or who knows, right? You can have a ton of fun with it. I thought it was kind of interesting because I like using some of these AI note takers like Fireflies and some of the others, because I like being able to listen back to the conversation in case I missed something in an important business meeting, or I can have AI help me kind of, search for things that I might have missed or how to handle certain things. So there's the huge value in those note takers. And this to me was just another note taker, except it was a wearable for your everyday life. Until I started seeing everybody absolutely roasting it with privacy concerns, right? Like that was just the main thing that just people came at their throat was, this was basically like wearing a wire. That was what people compared it to, was, everybody's going to walk around wearing a wire, recording everything. Like, where is this all going to go? And how is this going to play out with privacy? Do you have any thoughts on this? Were you able to take a look at this one? I have some pretty strong feelings about this, so I want to hear yours first before I chime in.
Yeah, it's kind of just like what you said when you were training the model on your writings, but it's now just taking your voice and what your conversations and putting it into. I think there were some funny thoughts about it. I think I saw one comment where it's like, what if you had an argument with the wife and it tries to summarize out? It's like all that stuff was funny, but there was a lot of backlash on privacy, and I think it's because there's no hiding what it is. It's recording your conversations, it's recording everything. Everyone jokes about how your iPhone records you and all that, but your iPhone doesn't tell you like, hey, we're recording everything you say and then advertising it to you. You say, and we're putting it back into an AI model, and now you can see every conversation they have. If you forget something, maybe it reminds you. I'd love to try it personally. I don't know how I would feel about wearing it. It's almost like I almost went to Hawaii and I came back with a shell necklace. My friends would be like, what are you wearing? It's not my style, but I think it's super interesting. I think just a lot of the backlash came from it's telling you exactly what it's doing. It's listening to you. I think people are so hung up on privacy, but they don't realize how much privacy they're giving away with just their phone now. There's so much stuff out there on you that I think what this does and what it could do for your privacy. And by the way, this company stresses, it's like the second line after saying what the thing does. This is all like, we're top tier privacy. Everything's encrypted. It's, everyone make sure there's all consent. Everything about it is, the first thing about what it is, and then it's all about privacy. So, I guess there's a little bit of a backlash toward it, but at the end of the day, your phone has so much stuff on you. What this is going to pick up, maybe if it was to be, used for a bad matter, is like maybe 10% more of what you already have on you. When I talk about draft beer from artisanal, craft breweries, I'm going to get that on an ad later. It's pretty obvious that a lot of stuff happens in your advertising that comes from either what you search, say, or do. And I think it's just a little bit of a uncomfortable feeling, people being like, okay, this is recording me everywhere I go. When in a sense, all your actions are already recorded. It may just not be through your voice. It may just be through your actions.
Mm-hmm. I think you nailed it. I feel the very same way, where it's this whole privacy thing that kind of bothers me a little bit, because somebody will talk to me about, I showed this to somebody, and that's the first thing they said. They're like, well, that's kind of like privacy invading, right? Like, I don't want people recording this and recording that. and I don't have any privacy this, privacy that. And then I started asking them questions, things like, do you ever use your ATM card? Do you have a bank account? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, okay, cool. Do you have Siri on your phone? They're like, yeah. I was like, okay. Do you have one of those robot vacuum cleaners that cleans your house for you? And they're like, oh, actually I do. And I was like, you know how much privacy you just gave away with those 3 things, and you're worried about this little necklace recording a conversation? Like, every time you swipe a credit card, the bank has all the info on you, where you were, what time you were there, how much you spent on it. That data has then been leaked numerous times, right? Like, there's been data breaches all over the place with banks. Banks have your ATM numbers, they have your social security numbers. The banks know more information about you than anything. And yet we still continue to swipe credit cards and swipe ATM cards like nothing, and don't even think twice about it. Then you have your little iRobot vacuum cleaner that is basically giving the entire layout of your house in data form, right? Like, I have the entire blueprint of your house because I know where the thing stops when it hits a wall and moves around. If you take that data, I can map out your entire house and the floor layout, right? You better believe that data's already been leaked to somebody else, right? So somebody can map out your house and rob you. Like, it's already out there. Everybody knows the phones are listening. The phones are tracking everybody so that they can show relevant ads. We have no privacy now, but yet we want to complain about it when it's something that we don't really understand. I think privacy is important, but at the end of the day, like, I don't care too much about it. I still swipe my credit card because I don't care. I'd rather be tracked across the internet because I don't want to see an advertisement about a mattress if I don't need a fucking mattress. Like I'm going to Italy with my wife, and I've been searching for all this camera equipment, and now everything in my social media feed is camera equipment. I'd rather be shown that. I would rather them show relevant ads to me than showing me an ad for, like, a Honda Accord when I don't even need to buy a car. Like, show me stuff that's relevant. Like, that's where this whole privacy thing comes in. Is I don't think people truly understand what is really happening behind the scenes. So the first thing they do is just complain about it, right? Like, people are afraid of what they don't know. And think about all the good that can come from this, where you're recording a conversation. I might have forgot something, or I might have forgot your phone number. I might have forgot an important date that is coming up, like maybe a birthday, or like, how cool would it be to be able to go back and have those things be reminders, right? Like, some of these note takers are so powerful, they can take and scour the conversation, find actionable things. Or let's say you and I were sitting there at the brewery, we're having a beer, and I'm like, hey, Tom, let's record a podcast next Thursday at 3:00 Pacific time. The AI scrubs that, automatically knows, puts that event in my calendar, links it with your calendar, and we don't even have to think about it, right? Like,
it's having a personal assistant at all times.
At all times, right? And now you start talking about other wearables too. Like, what about the AI glasses, right? Or the Meta glasses, the Ray-Bans with the camera in it. So now we're able to record, like, people, there was some complaints about that, but I didn't think it was as crazy as the complaints about this little necklace that was recording audio. This other thing is actually recording video, which I think is probably worse in regards to privacy. Now I have your image. But I think there's going to be this crazy movement too with AI wearables. I can't wait to see what the Vision Pro looks like from Apple. That's a whole nother thing that I can geek out on for another hour. But this wearable, I guess I'm optimistic about it, and I think about all the good that can happen from it. And I would probably use it just because I talk a lot and I'm all over the place, and I do a million different things, and stuff slips through the cracks. And now at the end of the day, I can go through and I can recap the conversations, find things that are important that I might have missed, and start integrating the AI automations and stuff. And maybe these tools start working together and stuff. But what are your closing thoughts on that one? Where do you see this going?
Yeah, a lot of people would start talking to themselves a lot more, which would look very funny. Being on a New York City subway and be like, "Oh shit, remind me to go get flowers," and someone's gonna look at you like, "What? What do you want me to do?"
That's a good point. Yeah.
It's helpful, but I think, to play devil's advocate, where I think a lot of the backlash will come from is this device and company, data breaches for credit cards, for, passwords, they happen. If someone knows where I spent my money last Thursday, unless they have malintent toward me and they're trying to use that data against me, which I don't think I'm that important to be to have my data used that way. But it is what it is. But this is the type of company, they cannot never have a data breach or they're done. You cannot have this information leak because, like we said, a lot of your information is out there and can be found, but now a lot of it's would all be in one place. Your exact thoughts, all your conversations, the amount of stuff that they could learn about you just from this data would be unlike anything that they could get off, the internet, I think. So this company, security, I think, has to be priority number one. A good product is always important, but they cannot ever have it. If they have one data breach, I think they're done. How else would you be able to convince people like, hey, yeah, we had a few people's, entire last month of conversations and everything they do leaked, but not a big deal. Come back and buy. It's like, all right. So I think that's a little interesting. I would love to try it. Honestly, I think it'd be a lot of fun to try. I think, it's like having a personal assistant and a clone of yourself at the same time. And I think that's super powerful. And it's just in the end of the day, my whole thing with AI is it's not going to take over. It's not going to take jobs away. I mean, it will. It's just going to increase efficiency at the end of the day. And so, something like this is going to increase efficiency. The chart of the United States GDP since 1800 is a straight vertical line. This will make it even go more vertical. So, and all AI around it as well. So that's kind of my final thoughts. I'd love to try it. I understand the backlash, but I also think, look at your room, look at your home, look at what you do on a day to day. If you think about it, if anyone wants to know where you are, they can find you pretty quickly.
Yeah. I guess a better question is, do you think this product ever hits the market?
I think it does. I think I've seen there's another one called Humane, which is like a clip that sticks to your shirt or chest. It kind of does the same thing. I think it does hit the market. I mean, it's that, or it's you have an app on your phone that always records, and that's done by Apple, and it's kind of like, that may feel a little worse because it's all in your phone. But I think it does hit the market. How it does, we'll see. But as soon as I see somebody with it, I'm going to go up and talk to it and not the person.
That's fair. I hope it hits the market. I hope we get past these privacy issues. I do agree with you, though. I mean, if there is a breach, it's huge. And with that, it makes me think that it might not hit the market because that's a big vulnerability, right? Like, I think hackers are going to be able to get into everything eventually. I mean, we've seen some of the biggest companies are getting hacked all the time. Mm-hmm. How would a small little company like this have such good security to be able to not breach that? Like, it's just something I think about. But then again, like, if my conversations leaked and I was actually wearing that thing, am I going to mind? Am I saying anything incriminating? Am I like, they're going to hear me cursing and yelling at the screen when I'm playing Call of Duty. They're going to hear me, talking about crazy AI stuff with my co-host Tom here. Like, I think about some of the things I'm not out there doing a bunch of illegal stuff and talking about privacy, but I am empathetic to the people that are a little bit skeptical of it. For me personally, I don't think I would really care. I say that now, and I mean, maybe something changes, but I'm definitely going to be a buyer. Yeah. So hopefully it does hit the market.
And last point, back to, I think, what happened to Apple in 2013 when the FBI was there was that shooter in California, and the FBI was saying, hey, we need access to the phone. And Apple's like, nope. And, there was a big controversy because it's like, Apple's like, we cannot under any circumstances allow you access to this phone. I think the FBI got in eventually, like through their own hackers in their own ways. But, Apple stood strong, even though it was a terrorist attack. They're like, we cannot breach privacy. So I'm not saying, support that, those types of people, but the sticking with the privacy, I think is going to be super important for this company. So